How's it going, y'all? It's your boy Omi. We are back with another Tokusatsu Controversies vid. Woo! Part 2, Volume 2. Obviously by Grime Geo. Please make sure to check out their channel. They do great work, especially when it comes to Tokusatsu related content. Now, last we checked with this Controversies vid, we got, at least for me, I got quite enlightened. Certain groups of people, when trying to enter into the Tokusatsu industry from an acting standpoint, from a production standpoint, there is quite there's quite a bit of I'd say a little bit of misogyny. I would say there is definitely exploitation, and there's really just when it comes to just Tokusatsu in general, because here's the deal. Y'all, I know we get to just embrace all of what Tokusatsu has to offer when it comes to all these different series and these different movies, that we really, a lot of these stories do have some dark sides to them, you know, when it comes to how they're made in the first place, when it comes to certain people, when it comes to just how people are treated in general. There's a lot of different elements that as viewers we don't get to we don't get to find out, and two, it gets thrown to the wayside because certain people's feelings just are not considered. Y'all, before we get into the reaction, make sure to like, subscribe, check out the Patreon. We get a bunch of exclusive content and a bunch of unedited content also. With that being so, I would just like to preface this by saying I probably will not be talking as much during the actual video. If I do have any comments, I'm gonna make sure to pause. And secondly, y'all, let's try to keep the comments cordial and respectful to all the people that are shown here. I don't want to. This is not obviously meant for any slander. This is purely just for information matters, or for information purposes. So let's get into it, y'all. Please make sure to check out Grime Geo's channel.
When I initially put these scripts together, I only thought about Kamen Rider and Super Sentai. But Tokusatsu is a genre, and there's much more to talk about when you broaden your horizons. I will focus on the two because they are the ones that intrigue me the most, but I'll try to be more open-minded going forward.
Pardon?
Imagine you're a Japanese person in the early 80s.
What?
The economy is booming, you have expendable income, and the VCR is dropped. What better way to spend your money, or make some money, than do porn? During Japan's early 80s, there was a porn boom thanks to the VCR, but what does this have to do with Kamen Rider?
I knew this.
Before Tsubaki Takayuki was the star in Kamen Rider Blade, Takayuki starred in a softcore gay porno.
Wow.
I wasn't able to find when it came out, but people have shown pictures, and according to them, all he did was disassociate while whacking off in a van. This news led to parent advocacy groups complaining, believing him to be a bad influence on their kids. Like I said in the last volume, better the parents know what their kids are watching, but again, this feels like an overreaction. It's not like Takayuki was a veteran AV star trying to share his greatest hits with the youth.
That's wild.
He only shot one scene, but because he was involved with it.
Yeah, even Gio's laughing at that shit. He shot one scene, which is such a funny thing to describe what he did.
Parent advocacy groups complain about it because you want the people acting in kids media to have relatively clean records.
Fair.
Hello everyone.
That's so funny.
This is Soulbite0000, but Grim calls me 04. Because Grim was busy looking into other things, he tasked me with gathering information on smut.
Alright, Grim. You got some. Hey, man. Dude's got influence. Let's see what. Actually, I missed what they were saying.
Hello everyone. This is
Soulbite
0000.
04.
Because Grim was busy looking into other things, he tasked me with gathering information on
Okay, fair.
Before long, I found the actual video, titled Power Grip 107, Idol New Hero Max. those squadron heroes gather here. Also brief thanks to Dradvisor for detailing everything.
What?
In 2002, two gay porn companies named Lumiere and Cote were beefing with each other. Cote opened its own store, which led Lumiere to sell Cote's new porn for a lot and its old porn for cheap. Eventually in 2004 they decided to expose each other's models, like baseball player Kazuhito Tadano and Genta Akanuma. At the time, people had no reservations with burning gay people at the stake, so this didn't help with their careers. Eventually Takayuki, a Cote
This
model,
one is
was exposed by
significantly
Lumiere,
more
who came and righted
wild
the
than the last video.
Lastly,
Already.
Info on this situation on Japanese forums quickly disappeared because Toei wanted the video to themselves and didn't want to share.
Toei wanted the videos to themselves. That's very
The
funny.
video shows Takayuki getting stroked and blown, though the way this was filmed made me think it was a hostage video. Everyone, please tell Grimm to get me a treat for my hard work of looking at gay porn and comparing buttholes. Back to you.
You know what? You're doing good work.
There was a worry from fans that the parents
You get my
outcry meant
praise.
Takayuki wouldn't reprise his role as Blade, but this didn't affect him. In fact, Takayuki managed to have a great relationship with his castmates and continued to reprise the role. Takayuki did get into another incident, not related to gay porn, but assault. I mean, he was assaulted during a traffic altercation.
Oh shit.
Late one
Swings
night
a
in
golf
November
club.
2016, Takayuki was coming home from practice and walked down a narrow alley. He was nearly hit by a motorcyclist, and the two got into an argument.
Damn.
The motorcyclist then called his brother, who, along with his golf club, proceeded to attack Takayuki. Because he isn't able to use his powers to hurt humans, he defended himself to the best of his abilities.
That
After the
sucks.
attack, Takayuki's face was beaten so badly, he needed 3 surgeries and had to get a plate in his left cheek.
Oh my
In court,
gosh.
the assailant and his brother claimed self-defense, but the judge was tired of hearing the self-defense golf club excuse, and the brother was sentenced to 3 years in prison plus a 5-year suspended sentence.
Okay.
Takayuki managed to soothe concerned fans following the incident, stating on his blogs that he's sorry for causing people trouble. He also said he was being taken care of by a doctor named Emu Hojo. Yes, Emu Hojo, the main character of Kamen Rider X-Aid.
Oh.
Takayuki actually took time to plug the new Kamen Rider show.
That's very-
while recovering from having his face
Hey man,
shattered.
work never ends.
Kamen Rider X-Aid is being broadcasted. He is an excellent doctor and will take good care
That's
of you.
very funny.
I will be
That's very
healing
cute,
while watching
actually.
it. Everyone is worried. Thank you so much. I fight destiny. And I win.
That's very sick.
How can you hate Takayuki, man? This dude's hilarious. After recovering, Takayuki continued acting, but also uploads content on social media.
Cool.
He blogs, draws, and is also a VTuber with lore I can only dream to understand.
Cool.
Go check him out. His YouTube will be linked in the description, and you can also see it on screen.
Hey man. What is this? What is this?
I'm sure a lot of you already know what Asao Kobayashi did. For those unaware, we'll get there in a bit, but first I have to mention the lack of substantive information on Asao. Take what I'm saying with a pinch of salt, and I'll clarify what I find believable.
Okay.
Our story starts with 3 people. Shin Kishida, alongside Asao Kobayashi, and Asai Kobayashi. All 3 were actors in Taiyo Sentai Sun Vulcan.
Sun
Shin
Vulcan.
played the commander of the Earth Peace Defense Force,
Okay.
while Asao played Vol Panther, the
Okay.
goofy one that eats a lot. Plus, Asai Kobayashi played Asao's father in the show and was his real-life dad.
Oh.
Asai was a famous composer, lyricist, and actor, while Shin was an actor, screenwriter, playwright, and director.
Wow.
Shin also collaborated on tokusatsu projects like Return of Ultraman, Godzilla v Mechagodzilla, and Fireman.
Okay.
Asai and Asao did not have a good relationship.
Oh.
Asao says his dislike for his father comes from his dad not treating Asao's mom, Aiko, right. Asao also alleges Asai cheated on his wife Aiko, told her about the divorce, and moved on to his second wife. The cheating part is alleged, but the divorce and second
Messy.
wife is true. Because of that, Asao apparently looked up to Shin as a father figure. Tragically, on December 28th, 1982, Shin died of esophageal cancer at age 43.
That makes
During
sense.
TV reruns of Sun Vulcan, the
Every
first
picture of
episode
that guy
was
was him
message for
smoking.
since it was his final tokusatsu show before he passed. The death of Shin also heavily affected Asao, which led to him taking a hiatus from acting, later quitting altogether. This reinforces the father figure idea in my mind, not to say the death of someone you closely worked with wouldn't affect you,
Yeah.
but to be this impactful, the two must have been close to each other. Asao then became a cram school teacher who also published a few books.
What the heck?
I didn't go through every book with the author named Asao Kobayashi, but one that stands out is The God of Japanese Language Scolds Idiots. On the cover you can plainly see Asao's face, but before you
Bro,
rush
what
to Amazon
kind
to
of book
buy
is
it,
this?
don't. Also, Asai may have wanted to appear in Gokaiger, an anniversary special
Wow.
for free, but was rejected for things we'll talk about now. Asao said in 2011 on his paid blogs that he was an earthquake researcher and had the power to predict earthquakes. He predicted an earthquake would hit on the saddest day of the year, February 15th. But then the Great East Japan earthquake, or the Tohoku earthquake and tsunami, struck Japan on March 11th, the same year. He was off by about 24 days, but I guess he was still learning.
Dude,
about
I
the
mean,
powers.
still, I mean,
Allegedly
he was
during the
close.
earthquake, he was trying to sell earthquake victims water at jacked up prices or auction off water to the victims. I couldn't find much more than other people parroting this idea around, and this was allegedly the reason he wasn't invited to play Volpanther in Gokaiger. Fast forward to April 22nd, 2013.
Dude, that's
where an underage
exploitative.
high school girl managed to get into contact with Asao. The two met each other online, met up at Asao's apartment, and he sexually assaulted her. Not too long after the incident, the victim reported this to the police, and Asao was arrested on June 6th. For some reason I can't find, he presumably managed to get out of jail for a few days. Then, on June 24th,
Dude
he
escaped?
was rearrested, because taking pictures of a minor you essayed means you're now producing child pornography. Before apparently disowning his son and never speaking to him again, Asai apparently paid the lawyer fees, fine, and compensated Asao's victim. Asai then never spoke to his son again.
600,000 yen?
Away on May 30th, 2021, due to heart failure. According to the article, Asao didn't know his father died and wasn't invited to the funeral. One interesting detail is in Asao's Twitter that linked to his paid blogs. Coincidentally, there's no tweet about earthquakes or vaccines on May 30th, 2021. But on May 31st, the day after, Asao links to his paid blogs with a tweet that reads, "The Showa era inside me has ended." The Showa era runs from 1926 to 1989. Coincidentally, this includes the year 1932, when Asai was born. The last idea to talk about is the will or inheritance. In the article, Asao was screaming to his neighbors that he had a 400 million yen inheritance from his father. According to Japanese law,
I don't know about
unless
that.
Asao is explicitly cut from the will, he is entitled to some of the inheritance. Though remember, the will isn't public, so we have no idea on how the assets were divided. That's everything I believe is worth talking about.
That's wild.
There were claims about Asao
that's
being
so-
a terrible relationship partner,
That's
but
a
I didn't
crazy
find enough
edit.
to go off of. From what I've explained to you,
Lolly
you can
Conjure,
understand there's a
no
lot
illegal
missing.
Sentai Lolly
I refuse to
Conjure.
believe Asao woke up in 2011, believed he could predict earthquakes, was wrong, and then 2 years later sexually assaulted a minor. Like, something happened here, and I want to know because you don't just wake up crazy. At the same time, it's a good thing I don't know everything about Asao.
That's
'cause that means
unfortunate,
he's
bro.
likely staying out of trouble.
That person seems like he's been
Enough that I
through a
haven't
lot.
found anything with the power of too much free time. Asao has completely ruined his image, so he's not going back to show business, and no Sun Vulcan reunion either. For the sake of all parties involved, I hope they've managed to find some peace throughout these trying times.
I agree. I do hope
Except
that.
Asao for obvious reasons now.
Yeah, this guy's wild. Dame yo, dame, no, you is Belial. Belial. This is the only song I know from Yakuza. I've never played a Yakuza game. Well, I played a little bit of a Yakuza game. What's going on?
Let's
We
talk
loving
about
Belial?
Ultraman Belial. Specifically the voice actor Hiroyuki Miyasako.
Okay.
Miyasako is an actor, comedian, and the first voice actor of Belial. In
Wow.
December 2014, 11 comedians from the talent agencies Yoshimoto Kogyo and 2 from Watanabe Pro were gathered by Ire Shinya to entertain guests at a party. Now, working a party without telling your agency isn't anything I'd care about, but it's different when the party is for an antisocial group, or in English, the Yakuza.
Oh,
Especially
shit.
since the group that met with Shinya and paid him prior to the party is known for Furikome Sagi, or in English, bank transfer fraud. Shinya was immediately fired once the Yoshimoto found out about this. Meanwhile, all 11 of their committees were indefinitely suspended. Initially, some in the group claimed they didn't know the party was for the Yakuza and also said they weren't paid. The entertainment industry has had connections to the criminal underworld, and Yoshimoto Kogyo had an incident with the comedian Shinsuke Shimada, who was close with two high-ranking Yakuza bosses.
Yeah, this
and
I'm
left
not
show business
that
once the
surprised
information was
about.
publicized. So an investigation was conducted, not just into the incident, but the whole company. The truth is, the comedians
This I find
were
more.
paid, and some
I genuinely find this aspect more interesting than like concerning, because like Yakuza, I feel like are. I don't know. I feel like they're like it's a mafia, so they're probably gonna have their hands in like any sort of functioning business within the country they reside in. I would say, even if it's like very minuscule, I think there's always a chance of like this sort of relationship
Estimates
building.
on how much they were paid range between 30,000 yen and 100,000 yen, or somewhere in the thousands to tens of thousands USD range. The more well-known comedians, Miyasako and Ryo Tamura, were paid respectively 1 million yen and 500,000.
Damn.
Despite happening in
This is-
2014,
okay.
the public apology and more didn't break until 2019, because Yoshimoto may have tried to keep the story from breaking out before they finished their investigation. When news broke, you had a picture of Miyasako drinking with Noguchi Kazuki, a guy who, with some help, managed to steal 750 million yen in gold bars in 2016. In USD, that's about 6 million, possibly $7 million. So, yikes. In 2019,
How'd
the
he
chairman,
steal it?
Hiroshi Osaki spoke to the public about the scandal. He mentioned that the comedians are making amends by paying back what was stolen in their taxes, and how they will tell the company when they have work instead of the agency. Yoshimoto
So they let them take the gold, right? And they're like, "Yo, you know what? But we are gonna tax you." That's actually not a terrible way to deal with that. It's like, okay, we caught y'all, but you can keep that, but you're just gonna get taxed up the ass, which I think that's actually quite a reasonable way to get your money back.
prided themselves on verbal contracts, and for some reason following the scandals, still insisted on verbal
By an
agreements instead of
antisocial
paper ones.
group.
Yoshimoto also delisted its stock and held seminars with its entertainers on compliance with the law. They really wanted to separate themselves from the Yakuza connections.
That's funny.
to the point they had 6,000 letters from Yoshimoto entertainers confirming they have no ties to the Yakuza. Lastly, both Osaki and co-president Akihiko Okamoto got their pay cut by 50% for a year.
Fair.
On July 20th, Miyasako and Tamura held their own press conference separate from Yoshimoto, where they apologized. Miyasako admits that he misremembered the event since it happened 5 years ago. He met with the reporter from the Friday magazine, which showed the picture of him and Noguchi, the gold heist guy, about going to a party with antisocial forces. Not long after he was questioned, the reporter dropped the story and the pictures. Before Shinya was fired, Miyasako talked to him about the money they got from the party, but Miyasako believed the money wasn't a performer fee, but something to cover his own tab, despite the fact he was paid 1 million yen and admitted he kept the change. Miyasako says he always keeps a lot of cash on him because he usually organizes parties and pays for the group. Plus, many places he went
Must
to
be
didn't
nice.
allow credit cards. The money he
Dang.
got from the party was just added to the wad of cash he already had in his wallet. After this information and more was brought to the Yoshimoto, the comedians were suspended. After Ryo pushed President Okamoto for a press conference, he ordered the lawyers and staff out the room and allegedly said, "You guys aren't recording this, are you?" Then said, "Go ahead then. You can hold a press conference by yourselves if you want, but if you do, I'll fire everyone. You all share the blame. If you're okay with that, then go ahead, hold your press conference. I have the power to fire everyone." Every single one.
This guy is about to unload the clip. Whoa.
After the alleged threat and later
Oh
suspension,
my God, this is flying.
some Yoshimoto staff
Sorry
told
about that, y'all.
Ryo and Miyasako not to talk about retiring. Okamoto didn't want them to quit, but also refused to let them apologize to the public and never had a set date for their retirement press conference. Ryo and Miyasako also pushed for the press conference because the
I'm so sorry, y'all. I need to run it back. There was a fly. There's a fly right now and it's bothering me so bad.
didn't want them to quit, but also refused to let them apologize to the public and never had a set date for their retirement press conference. Ryo and Miyasako also pushed for the press conference because the other members have families that needed support. Remember this for later. More arguing ensued until July 20th, 2019, when they actually held the press conference. The pair tried to get legal counsel prior to hold their
This music is from Sonic. I believe it's from Sonic. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I was wondering where I've heard this before.
press conference because they wanted to come clean sooner. Yet Yoshimoto tried to mess them up because they were trying to work through the scandal without them. Quote, they claimed upper management was saddened that we had hired legal counsel, saying, we're a family. But if I'm considered family, I see myself as a child. I don't think a parent stops a child from apologizing when they realize they've done something truly wrong. Having that stopped left me with nothing but distrust.
This
I
is
didn't want them to
interesting
stop me.
perspective.
I wanted them to push me forward to help me figure out how to apologize properly. They also admit the party had kids and normal-looking families, so there wasn't a clear sign it was for an antisocial group. Ultimately, both were reinstated, Tamura eventually working again.
Wow,
but
they have
not
been
Miyazaki.
really trying to
Because he
cover
was
their
suspended
their
from
bases
everything,
when
he spent
when
time
hiding the
making YouTube
Yakuza
videos
stuff.
and posted his
Wow,
apology on
what a
January
following.
28th, 2020. One interesting thing I learned was from the creator of 2channel and the admin of 4chan. Yoshimoto mentions that the only reason the situation was bad was not because of the sketchy business, but because some of the comedians like Miyasako lied about their involvement to Yoshimoto. Imagine you were one of the big shots at the Yoshimoto and all 11 comedians tell you everything. Sure, you'd be pissed, but because they made an effort to tell the truth, you can work with them to resolve things. If a goal of talent agencies is to develop and maintain their talents, then they wouldn't get rid of them unless they aren't worth the trouble. Plus, the actions of the talent reflect on the company, especially when things get public. If everyone tells the truth, then it's easier to say, sure, they did a bad thing, but they were honest during the investigation, and they didn't betray our trust.
I
It
see.
kind of gives off the impression that the comedians are trying to make amends. But if they lie, then what are you supposed to believe?
Yeah, that's
If the trust
interesting.
is
This is
gone,
actually
I
quite
hope you're funny enough they
predicament.
want to keep you, like the pedophiles. Yoshimoto brought up two talents of Yoshimoto that both got involved with minors, but because one told the Yoshimoto what they did, he was reinstated much sooner. You can dig into this yourselves, because anytime I don't have to read about grown men drinking and sexually assaulting minors is a good
Yeah,
thing.
man.
Back to the
Damn.
sketchy business and how little the comedians are paid. Just like with actor agencies, talent agencies take fees from your checks. So by not telling the agency about a job, you get to keep more of your money.
I
An
see.
archive of the story that mentions
That
the
could be
Yoshimoto
kinda
comedians is on Reddit
Bad.
and says these underground activities are a lucrative source of income because you get to keep everything. Also worth noting, the Japanese wiki for
Tax-free.
the Yoshimoto mentions that lots of its young comedians have part-time jobs because of how little they're paid.
Yeah.
I'm not bringing this up because I think stealing from old people is good, but the underground performances aren't the issue at the end of the day. The problem is the party's connection to the Yakuza or other antisocial organizations. And Japan really wanted to crack down on their influence. Because these groups are not known for their ethical business practices, it shouldn't shock you that the party is likely a money laundering
Yeah.
scheme, or a way to clean
That's why
the
they
money
keep all
earned
that
from their
cash on them.
exports. And of course it makes the company look bad, because optics are the only thing that matters apparently. In this instance, Miyasako showed no connection to the Yakuza, but he was connected to them. The Yakuza games. Specifically Tsuyoshi Kaneda in Yakuza 3 Plus Dark Ties,
What an
and
unfortunate.
Tsuyoshi Nagumo in
Yeah.
Yakuza 6.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, a trailer for Yakuza 6
Ah.
came out 2 years after the scandal first broke. Ultimately, I
That's
don't
funny.
like what Miyasako did, and I also don't like how he
A little
initially
bit lighthearted. I
handled the
like that.
investigation. But I don't really care that much about it. Don't get it twisted. Stealing from old people is bad. You shouldn't do it. Miyazaki
But
should have lied about his involvement.
this
in
isn't like the
payments,
worst
but
crime.
all the
It's
people
just
I've talked
unethical,
about
you know.
and read about, he could come back without much hate from
But
me.
I mean, just
I'd
because you're
rather my commu-
just because you're associated with the Yakuza doesn't necessarily mean that you are a criminal. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like Yakuza, or like once again, any sort of organized crime is almost unavoidable. So you kind of just have to make sure there's like a barrier between you and that associated group, you know?
comedians go to a Yakuza party and get paid, and them sexually assaulting minors. The fact that two
That has nothing to do
Yoshimoto
with you.
comedians were reinstated after doing that, yet Shinsuke Shimada can't be chill with two high-ranking crime bosses, is beyond stupid.
Yeah.
411, folks. Say some gangsta is dissing your fly girl. Just give him a lead.
Ah, no. Hey, Kamen Rider Yuki. Just
Now
give him
imagine
one
if
of
you were
these.
out with your partner, and someone was trying to shoot a video up their skirt. I'd hope you'd be violent and angry. Now, imagine you do that to someone's
Man.
wife, and he goes,
Dude, no way. Is it Ren's wife?
That's what happened with Satoshi Matsuda, or Crab Orphanok. On December 7th, 2016, Matsuda and his wife Irie were out shopping when a 35-year-old tried to record a video up her skirt. Irie noticed the voyeur and told Matsuda. Once the man was caught, he ran away and Matsuda chased him. Sadly, because there were no mirrors or windows nearby, he couldn't use his advent gun. Instead, he caught up to the voyeur.
Ren, yeah, so it is Ren's
Matsuda
actor.
also tweeted about the incident the same day. As has already been reported, today my wife fell victim to a voyeuristic incident, and I managed to apprehend the perpetrator. Thanks to the dedicated efforts
Dude,
of
sounds
everyone
like,
at the
yeah.
police station in Kyoto,
Actually sounds
both
like
my
Ren.
wife and I emerged
Holy shit.
unscathed, and the matter was safely resolved. I apologize for causing you any worry. Phones in Japan play a sound when you take pictures or start recording. This was implemented after a celebrity named Masashi Tashiro took upskirt photos of a girl back in the 2000s using a camcorder. Phone manufacturers made this the standard not explicitly for voyeuristic purposes or because of the law, but for privacy. Not to say every time you hear a camera shutter sound, someone is being evil, but privacy is highly valued in Japan. Not helping was the incident with Tashiro, because the creator of the first Japanese film with a camera, Keiji Takao, said Tashiro's arrest was a critical factor behind the shutter sound. In 2015, Tashiro did the same thing to a woman on the train, but with a camera phone. And also a year after the first incident,
This
with the
guy.
camcorder, he tried to peep through some dude's bathroom window. The guy then chased him down in a bath towel and took him to the police station. It's pretty impressive that Tashiro managed to get work a year after the
This
first
guy,
incident, and went on
dang.
to be the guy those workplace harassers.
Yo, the perversion knows no
He
ends
also
with
got hooked
this,
on
with
the
some of
big
these
three,
guys. Holy shit.
marijuana, amphetamines, and coke, but I think we're getting too off topic. Ari and Matsuda got a divorce, but he stated, quote, "Although I have chosen to live separately from my two children, my desire to be a role model and inspiration for them remains unwavering." Last thing of note, Matsuda is translating his autobiographical novel to English, How to Become Kamen Rider, the day I, a liar and crybaby, became knight.
Huh.
Once it's translated, I'd gladly read it.
Yeah, that's
Because from what I've
interesting.
read, Matsuda didn't have the greatest upbringing. I love the idea of trying to be a good role model or inspiration for people who didn't have one. Besides, based on how things went down with the voyeur, he seems like a good person to guide people down the right path.
That was not, this one wasn't bad. This is Revice, I believe. Revice?
We've already talked about the troubling work culture for debut actors at Toei, but what if I told you there's levels to this? Before we get to the letter and lawsuit, we first need to talk about Kamen Rider Revice. Revice was made in 2021 during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay.
Production began around spring 2021 and broadcasting began on September 5th. In November 2021, an unnamed assistant producer, who we will call Hanako, filed a complaint to the Sogo Support Union. The
Okay.
complaint describes Hanako's troubles since her promotion, including sexual harassment, unpaid overtime, and management sticking their fingers in their ears and shouting the current show's theme. Though an important
What?
detail is Hanako's issues had nothing to do with the Revice staff. The letter starts with Hanako describing her early experiences working at Toei as a 20-year-old graduate. She started working in production departments during her apprenticeship, and in November 2020 was promoted to assistant producer. In June 2021, she went on leave due to an adjustment disorder, which is usually caused by excessive reactions to stress.
Wow.
Hanako mentions that many APs left the company, and while HR claims the employees left to pursue their dreams, Hanako says, "I don't think we can ignore the fact that the intense work with filming lasting from early morning to late at night for a year continues." This is something I've heard around a lot, and it kind of makes sense. If you want to film at a specific time, then you get everyone together very early so nobody is late. During this time, you then need to get everyone ready with costumes, makeup, and that barely scratches the surface on why filming takes so long. Back to the letter, Hanako mentions the issues she had were already present with her seniors that left the company.
Dang.
She was also worried about filing the complaint herself, because if all her seniors had the same issue, wouldn't they tell HR about it?
Yeah, bro.
And
this is
if they wouldn't listen to the senior employees,
It's like they've already. I can see how frustrating that this sort of situation is, especially as a young person in like trying to break through within this industry, and they've already set like all the people that have been working here have been they haven't been trying to adjust any of like the work, like the. I think that when there's a collective that doesn't get to actually voice their opinions and it consistently gets overlooked, eventually the work, the type of work that you're doing is not going to be as efficient and as effective as you'd want it. And then it makes for all the people that are trying to break into this industry, or trying to not even break into it, like just trying to establish themselves within this industry as like an assistant producer, for example, they can't actually do the things that they want to do because of so many setbacks that were previously sort of just not addressed. And I think that it's like a snowball effect. It just adds upon itself, and then it becomes this giant monster that you can't really do anything about.
why would Hanako's claims be treated any better?
And now,
Yes, because this story wasn't bad enough, though we really haven't gotten into it. There are two stories of sexual harassment at the G. Rosso Theater.
Damn.
G. Rosso is a theater used for in-person hero shows. Toei doesn't own G. Rosso, but the two have been close business partners. Our first story involves Gal Black, Kazuyoshi Sakai, pushing Gal White's suit
Gal
actress's
Black.
butt. The video is still up thanks to Express Kyodai on Twitter. In the video, Sakai signals to Gal White to look in a direction. He then touches her butt and another actor hits him on the head. Now, when I first saw this, I thought it was a joke. Get it?
What happened?
Didn't seem like one. Sakai apparently posted this to his own Twitter with the hashtag that translates to Gal White's butt.
What?
Not to surprise you, but this tweet was deleted. Whether this was a joke or not, in lieu of Hanako's letter and our next story, it doesn't paint a good picture for Toei or G. Rosso. Our second story involves Irie Nakayama, who I believe is different from Arina Nakayama from Kamen Rider Wizard.
Oh.
Irie was a stage host at G. Rosso who left after dealing with ludicrous amounts of sexual harassment from
Dang.
other employees. She initially posted on Twitter she graduated, which is the PG way to say you quit, but later elaborates on what she went through. Irie reported she left on June 22nd, 2019, because she was harassed for a year, getting water splashed on her during events, being called a nickname for male genitals, lewd comments were made towards her, and groping.
Dang.
She was also told if she said anything, they wouldn't give her any work, and if this was her only job at the time, she'd basically have to put up with it until she found a new one.
Whoa.
Irie says how hard it was to stand in front of kids while dealing with this.
Yeah.
It has often been said that a well-brought-up woman is one who can laugh off and brush aside sexual harassment that comes her way without letting it bother her. But for the children growing up in the
It's
Real
the
era
kid.
now that the
Yeah,
Heisei period
that's
has
the thing.
ended,
It's
I
like
hope that
it's the situation in which you're putting the other person. It's not necessarily what you're doing. A guy isn't. People are just gonna be doing some dumb shit regardless. But it's the situational awareness in which that is playing such a vital role in how this is affecting Eri. Like, it's in front of not only like parents but also kids, also just a bunch of people that you should not be trying to do these things around. Not that you should be doing it anyways, right? Sexual assault in general, obviously not. obviously. But then when like you're in front of an audience, purposefully watching you guys, it's so silly. Like it's like you're setting yourself up for failure.
By outdated harassment of having their rights violated. I've been told over and over that power harassment and sexual harassment are just jokes, and that it's unavoidable in that kind of industry. If I truly enjoyed the work, maybe I should have just kept quiet and endured without saying anything unnecessary. But I believe no matter what industry it is, we have to change for the sake of the next generation. I sincerely hope that things will turn even a little bit in a better direction, and that we can hope for a children's futures in a just society. If there's anything you take away from this
That was good.
it's these
That's a good way to explain that.
Because why inspire children to fight against evil and stand up for the innocent? Meanwhile, your employees are treated like POWs. In no universe should working any warehouse job treat you better than working for a company that produces children's media. 6 employees were found guilty of sexual misconduct in relation to Irie. The Tokusatsu network says 1 employee is from Toei Advertising and the other 5 are from affiliate companies. Toei mentioned it would add measures to prevent these incidents, like mandatory harassment courses plus education programs to prevent more harassment for Hero Show staff, setting up an anonymous contact point where the staff can consult people for help, lastly, regular on-site interviews with third parties. Though, Hanako says this incident happened 2 years ago from when she dropped her letters, the internal response was to quash the story, and there were no intentions to change. Back to Hanako's letter, we can talk about fixed overtime. 3 months after Hanako was promoted, her salary was changed from a flat rate to fixed overtime. The way fixed overtime works in Japan is you have between 20 and 45 overtime hours you must complete every month.
Okay.
You get paid regardless of whether you actually complete the hours or not, which on its face makes no fucking sense, but that's why I'm not running a business in Japan. The management of the TV department told Hanako that her new salary
I wonder how that
would be enough
works.
to live off. When she inquired further, the manager stuck their fingers in their ears and proceeded to shout. The head of HR said the fixed overtime system was used because producers can't control their hours. This makes sense, and I'm sure there's a lot I'm missing, but instead of fixed overtime, couldn't you calculate it per individual? During the first round of collective bargaining between Toei and the union, Hanako asked them to investigate the unspecified wage payment, and I'll just read from this directly. The deemed overtime hours set forth in the agreement with the union were amount equivalent to overtime pay calculated based on 55 hours on weekdays and 15 hours on holidays. The agreement was based on the assumption that 70 hours of overtime work would be performed per month.
That's wild.
The arrangement that Toei has in place includes 45 hours of overtime.
That is absolutely egregious, yo.
It's confusing, but what's important is
70 hours ignoring the wait.
Hanako later mentioned she regularly, but what's important is has in place
ignoring labor laws. 70 hours overtime work that would perform per.
But what's important is
that's
Hanako
wild.
And the union believe the fixed overtime system is unfair and not paying them what they're owed. Hanako later mentioned she regularly worked 13 hours a day and that her fixed overtime didn't reflect her actual overtime hours worked.
That's crazy. How can they have fixed overtime?
Since fixed overtime pay is based on the hours agreed to by Toei and the union with no extra pay.
That's just pay. That's just
asked for unpaid overtime from the past 2 years, along with admitting the fixed overtime system is a specially abled system and recalculating overtime into your base salary. According to the union,
that was confused. This is confusing.
Some investigating, Toei knows it didn't manage the hours of employees with fixed overtime and doesn't want to give out retroactive payments.
Fair. Not fair, but I get it.
Abolished by Toei in January 2022. Hanako was also sexually harassed by 2 staff members. God, every woman I've talked about during this segment has been sexually harassed.
Yeah, damn, bro, damn.
What's going on over there? First, by a 60-year-old freelance staff member who got the 20-year-old Hanako's contact info for work purposes. He then fired off a barrage of messages and phone calls that had nothing to do with work. You can read this one up on screen. The 20-year-old Hanako ignored the 60-year-old man, and on a cold day he held her hand without her consent. Hand-holding in Japan is not lewd like memes would make you think. From what I've learned, Japan isn't big on loud showcases of public affection. But before I get sidetracked again, holding the hand of a 20-year-old girl who has no interest in you while being a 60-year-old man isn't le move. When Hanako brought this up to an internal hotline, it's not a criminal offense.
I don't know. That one just sounds weird. It just doesn't even sound. It doesn't sound like it's actually an issue, but it doesn't sound like it's comfortable either.
Second was a freelance assistant director who used his position to get closer to her, forcing Hanako to look at him while they were alone and sit next to him on the bus. When Hanako brought this up to her supervisor, he stuck his fingers in his ears and during another round of filming, he ignored Hanako when she wasn't directly looking at his eyes, refused to give her information about her job, and also reprimanded her because he's petty. When Hanako became the AP for Revice, she explained the situation to her producer. Instead of ignoring her, he said, "She's lucky to be so popular in such a short time span." At this point, wouldn't you rather the producer stick his fingers in his ears too?
Yeah, what?
Lastly, Hanako was overworked during the production of Revice. She says it was common for her to work 13 hours a day with overtime exceeding the amount allowed per month. Hanako talked to her producer about her constant crying and stress-induced gastroenteritis. And
oh my gosh.
I'm only going to mention 4 and 5, but you can read the others on screen. 4 is have a concrete set of days we need to be on site, and number 5 reads, if 1 through 4 are difficult, reassign me to a different drama. The producer said, I think it's possible to work with just 4 to 5 hours of sleep. If you do this, you aren't a dedicated employee. You're a walking time bomb. He also responded to her suggestions. To number 4's point, he said, there's more work you'll do so you'll come in less days. And for number 5, if you think working here is bad, you wouldn't last on adult dramas. So there was nothing Hanako could do, and nobody she could talk to about her issues.
That's a little bit frustrating.
Or a union, she'd probably keep working until she reached her breaking point, or something so bad happened she had to leave. Eventually, news of the lawsuit and complaint reached the Chuho Labor Standards Inspection Office, and this article says they recommended corrective action to Toei. Also, they knew about some of this, because Chuho issued advisories to Toei 3 times since November 2011. They found Toei wasn't tracking Hanako's overtime hours and didn't pay her for her actual overtime. There were no updates on these sexual harassment.
That's how much overtime are they working that they're not getting paid, bro? What the fuck? How much money is just not going to these actors?
There were no updates on these
and crew, I'm sure.
But in lieu of both G. Rosso incidents, I'd assume they did something about it, even though there's no reason to believe they did at all. Toei responded and said they received a, quote, fair judgment from Chuho and are responding based on Hanako's situation. With everything I've talked about, it's hard to feel sympathy for Toei. If not intentionally,
so much money, damn.
Before Hanako entered the picture. Then, the people she spoke to seem unwilling to escalate her issues. It's easy to say Toei bad after everything we've discussed.
Okay.
And it's hard to look beyond that, especially since I couldn't find more about the situation. To end this video, I originally planned to learn more about Japanese work culture, because I've heard how toxic it can be. But I'd rather talk about something else. A quote from Hanako says, Kamen Rider is a hero of justice. I don't think it's justice for people to work desperately in the field because they love their work, and to have a rampant way of working that doesn't comply with the Labor Standards Act. I was wondering if the accusations that destroy the dreams of a children's program were correct, but I hope it will create an atmosphere where hurt people in the same industry can easily speak out. Imagine yourself as someone who watched any tokusatsu media, and it resonated with you. For some, you probably created your own heroes, and for others, they wanted to carry on these great works. So, you decide you want to work for Toei, and it's nothing like what you dreamed of. Having to dodge employees 3 times your age trying to get into your pants, being overworked and underpaid. Nobody you speak to wants to help you with your problems either, so you put in an anonymous complaint and try to rectify the situation. Irie and Hanako's issues might be unique to them, but it wouldn't shock me if other employees past
There's
or
so-
present told similar stories.
I'm so sure that this is like, think of how many people that have probably been in worse scenarios, been in worse situations, that didn't get the opportunity to speak out at all, that didn't get any of their story documented at all. This is wild.
Workplaces are not intrinsically toxic. Sure, bureaucracy creates its own issues, but for things to be like this requires more than a few bad employees.
Yeah. This is
Whether
just,
it's
this is
toys,
a fun,
company
there's
culture,
fundamental
Japanese
issues
work
here.
culture, or something deeper, it should have never reached this point.
Yeah.
And the saddest part is, Hanako and Irie were just as concerned with the children whose favorite heroes would be implicated by them coming forward as they were with getting justice for themselves and those who were wrong. Or so the story says. Thanks for watching. Actually, researching this time wasn't that bad. I actually enjoyed looking into this stuff.
Good. All right, y'all. That was all of the, or that was, all right, y'all. That was Tokusatsu Controversies Volume 2 by Grime Geo or Grim Geo. Please go make sure to like, subscribe, check out their channel. This was pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie, pretty fun video. As dark as the themes are, and as wild as some of these stories are, I think that this is it's good information to know. It's good information to have. I'm sure that obviously I want to start off by just saying, for any of the victims that have gone through these sort of situations, outside of just even Tokusatsu, people that are watching, anybody that's been a victim to sexual assault or any sort of assault in general, you have my sympathy, you have my empathy, and I'm sorry that you had to go through that. When it comes to the actual entertainment industry, man, it is so frustrating because it's just pure exploitation. As soon as a person has any sort of power over another person, they're like, oh, let's see how far I can take it. And that is just fundamentally just a lot of character. A lot of people tend to have these sort of character flaws that are in these leadership roles, are in these sort of high budget production roles, and it's really frustrating because they just see everybody else as just mere puppets, and they don't take into consideration how emotionally taxing the work, sometimes your personality, sometimes just outside elements can actually be on a person. I don't have anything significant to say. I want everybody to know that obviously Toei, as much as they have really just put in some or created some of the most iconic IPs you can imagine or help create them, they obviously have an issue when it comes to just finances. I'd say that's probably the biggest issue that we've seen. And for like a multi-billion-dollar or multi-billion yen production studio, you guys should be able to pay whatever cost that you have. Y'all, I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, subscribe.